今日こそ白黒つけようか。
Today, we're diving into the action-packed world of My Hero Academia with a comprehensive recap of Season 5. From the intense joint training arc to the revealing My Villain Academia storyline, this season was full of surprises, character growth, and epic battles. We'll cover Deku's evolving powers, the secrets of One for All, Endeavor's path to redemption, and the rise of the Paranormal Liberation Front. So, grab your hero costume and let's jump into the thrilling world of My Hero Academia Season 5. The day after Endeavor's fight with the high-end Nomu, Shota Aizawa starts the class by reminding his students that while their hero licenses are provisional, they still have to act like heroes in an official capacity. He intends to push them harder to reflect the responsibility as an emergency alarm blares throughout the classroom, leading to Class 1A being given a training mission to fight hypothetical villains. The class arrives at Ground Beta, where it is revealed that Najir and Tamaki of the Big Three are posing as villains, while Mirio plays a civilian in distress. The Class 1A students each demonstrate their unique skills in taking down the two villains and rescuing Mirio, successfully completing the drill. However, Bakugo is angry because he thinks Tamaki went easy on him. Meanwhile, recovering from his injuries after his battle, Endeavor thinks back to his encounter with the villain Dabi, while Hawks meets Dabi at an isolated warehouse to discuss some unknown business. In the aftermath of the battle against the high-end Nomu, Dabi attacks Endeavor and Hawks, only to retreat upon the arrival of Mirko. That night, Dabi and Hawks criticize each other for having changed their plan, with the former stating it'll be some time before the latter can meet Shigaraki. Determined to make the world a place for heroes to have some free time, Hawks joined the League of Villains as an undercover spy, under orders from the Hero Public Safety Commission to take them down from the inside. Back in present, Hawks visits Endeavor in the hospital and silently apologizes to him. The following day, Endeavor checks out of the hospital and returns home to find a mixed reception from his family members. Fuyumi is happy to see him doing well, however Natsuo is still upset at him for everything he did to their family over the years. Shoto voices his appreciation for Endeavor the hero, but still intends to see how Endeavor the father will turn out. Later that night, after a physically draining day, Midoriya dreams about All for One and his younger brother, being shown the era when the villain reigned supreme, and the events that led to One for All's creation. Suddenly, the brother approaches him, saying that he wants to show Midoriya more of the past, but he isn't strong enough to handle it yet. They reach out and touch hands, with the latter telling him it will be fine, and that he's not alone, as he wakes up in shock. After discussing his dream with All Might, Midoriya is alarmed that the essence of One for All's previous holders live on within the quirk. Later that day, Class 1A and 1B meet at Field Gamma for their first joint training battle. Both classes are paired up into groups of 4 versus 4 matches. Eraserhead and Vlad King announce the teams, with Shinso being selected to participate in the first match as a part of Class 1, A's team, and 5th match as part of 1, B's. Ochako points out that it was a rematch between Midoriya and Shinso since they were opponents in the sports festival, something that Midoriya is looking forward to. All Might and Midnight arrive to watch the competition, with All Might revealing that although 1A has more experience, but 1B has actually improved a lot more. Soon after the first match begins, the Class A team is quickly ambushed by Class B, only for Shinso to turn the tide with his brainwashing quirk, now more advanced with his persona chords, allowing him to mimic any voice. The Class A team is quickly overwhelmed, resulting in the capture of both Kirishima and Koda, although Tsuyu is also able to eliminate Kosei from the match. Improvising a new plan explained by Asui, Kaminari allows himself to be captured, which serves their team as the distraction for the Class B team, in order for the threat of Shinso's quirk to destroy their communication, and for Asui to deliver the finishing blows. Mineta comments that Shinso turns out to be a more serious threat than originally believed, and Midoriya points out that this is because Tsuyu and Kaminari were able to make use of Shinso's abilities and skills. Shinso, Asui, and Kaminari are successfully able to lock Jirota, Ibara, and Hiryu together with Kosei in their jail. As Class A celebrates their victory of the first match, Shinso thinks about how far he still needs to go to become the hero he hopes to be. Feeling embarrassed, Vlad King announces the victory of Class 1A in the first round. Aizawa asks the Class A team to comment on what they learned or need to improve on. Kirishima says that outside of combat, his quirk has a very little application. Koda wishes to give more detailed instructions to his insects. Kaminari is happily jumping in the air, lamenting about how good he was. Asui wishes Koda and Kirishima weren't captured so early to preserve their coordination. And Shinso is frustrated about his inexperience using the binding cloth fighting style. After a short break following Match 1, Match 2 begins with Dark Shadow quickly possessed by Kurohiro. During his internship, Tokoyami was frustrated by Hawks using him just for information, so he strove to prove himself as someone to be taken seriously during the work studies. Despite having no interest in training the next generation, Hawks knew all along that Tokoyami just needed a push to embrace his full potential. Having created a new move under Hawks' wing, Tokoyami takes to the skies as Class A begins their counterattack just as Kendo predicted. Suddenly, mushrooms begin to sprout everywhere. Against the quirks of Kinoko Komori and Manga Fukidashi, the Class A team is divided, with Aoyama captured as a result. Unknown to Momo and Toru, Shihai took shelter nearby by phasing into the body of a black mushroom. He laughs and thinks back to the details of Itsuka's plan, where Kurohiro was used due to Dark Shadow being a quirk with low risks and high rewards in combat. Due to Yuga's naval laser being a direct counter to Shihai's quirk, Plan B was developed using Kinoko's quirk. Kurohiro decides to retreat as Plan B starts to take effect. Fueled by a desire to surpass Yaoyorozu, Kendo engages her solo. Yaoyorozu manages to launch a bag of support items across Field Gamma to her team. With the aid of thermal goggles, Tokoyami launches an attack on the hidden Class B team, capturing them. In a desperate move, Komori enlarges the spores inhaled by Tokoyami, incapacitating him. With an unconscious Yaoyorozu in tow, an exhausted Kendo captures Hagakure. Despite Class B winning Match 2, Kendo feels the victory is unearned, having failed to surpass Momo's planning. Despite their loss, the Class A students commend their team for their improvements over the school year. While the combatants recover, the combat zone is moved to another section of Field Gamma due to all the damage caused by Class B. In a quieter corner, All Might asks Izuku if he felt something strange with One for All again, as he comments that his master Nana Shimura had never mentioned to him that the quirk could be activated spontaneously. Just then, Bakugo appears and forces them to reveal their secrets, leading them to discuss what happened in the One for All dream. As Match 3 begins, Tokoyami approaches Todoroki and reminds him that they represent their mentors, the top two heroes. Elsewhere, after stopping a wheeled villain, Endeavor impatiently awaits a response from Todoroki, having offered to teach him his signature move the way a father should. The Class A team's strategy is quickly dismantled by Class B's Hananuki, with Tetsu focused on taking Todoroki out while disobeying Vlad King's orders to keep the damage to a minimum. As Juzo traps Ida and leaves to go help Tetsu, Ida claims that it was foolish for him to consider that he still has such time limit to use his engine quirk since the last time he saw it, and unleashes Recipro Turbo, a new move derived from a training method passed down from his brother Tensei. He breaks free from ice and heads towards the shocked Juzo. Tenya proclaims that raising the horsepower of his new ability and lowering the fuel consumption to the minimum, he is now unstoppable in terms of speed for 10 minutes. Juzo, realizing he's no match for Tenya, sinks into the slushed ice and swims through the mud underneath. As the endurance match between Todoroki and Tetsu rages on, both combatants begin suffering fatigue, leaving Todoroki no choice but to attempt his father's signature move. Hananuki and Ida interfere, resulting in the 4 combatants getting knocked out in the chaos. Pony rushes in and uses her horns to pick up Shoto, Juzo, and Tetsu, and carries herself and the students into the air with Shoji unable to reach them. With the time limit reached and most of the combatants either imprisoned or incapacitated, Match 3 is a draw. Kaminari and Kirishima whine about how unsatisfying the outcome is, though Jirota reminds them that running away and seeking help is a viable strategy. In Recovery Girl's office, Todoroki and Ida reflect on what they need to improve, with Hananuki excitedly hoping for a rematch someday. Match 4 begins, and Bakugo is ready to show Midoriya his growth. The Match 4 begins where both teams start making their moves. On Class 1, B's side, everyone is worried about how well balanced their opponent's team is. Creating a plan targeting Bakugo's selfish traits, the Class B team quickly works to overwhelm Class A, only to be driven back by their perfect teamwork. Bakugo declares his intention to always seek a perfect victory, and that includes not letting a single member of his team fall, as all the members are able to support each other in tandem. In the end, Match 4 finishes in 5 minutes with a total victory for Class A. Eraserhead commends his team for their support skills, quick capturing time and keeping collateral damage to a minimum, while Vlad King tells his team that their plan was great, but it needed to be more flexible. A dejected Setsuna apologizes for letting her team down, but Togaru tells everyone to keep their chins up. As Match 5 nears, Monoma and his team begin discussing their strategy, with their main focus being to take Midoriya down first. Elsewhere, Midoriya practices with One for All, and at long last, the final match of joint training begins. In Tartarus Prison, All for One oddly hears the voice of his brother. All Might is concerned when Gran Torino mentions a previous holder of One for All once told Shimura, "The time has not yet come." As the Class 1A team make their way forward, Izuku thinks about how with Shinso in Class 1, B's team, they won't be able to talk much once they engaged, just like in Sports Festival. Midoriya is also still being uneasy about what happened with One for All, wanting to be careful to avoid Shinso's quirk. Enacting his clever trap, Monoma confronts Midoriya, riling him up by declaring Bakugo at fault for All Might's end. Black tendrils suddenly sprout from his arm, rampaging through Field Gamma. Believing that heroes need protecting as well, Uraraka restrains Midoriya while Shinso uses his quirk to brainwash him. The tendrils subside, and Midoriya awakes in the Vestige world, meeting a previous holder of One for All. The tendrils are the man's original quirk, Black Whip, which manifested in response to Midoriya's intent to capture Monoma. The man explains that the core of One for All has grown so large, the quirks of the previous holders are manifesting within Midoriya. Regaining consciousness, Midoriya and Uraraka go on the defense as Match 5 turns into an all-out brawl. Despite the danger of Black Whip's rampage, Aizawa allows the match to continue for the sake of the combatants' ambitions. Copying One for All, Monoma attempts to attack Uraraka, only for the quirk to oddly do nothing. Shinso intervenes, unintentionally giving Midoriya a way to engage him. The two begin their rematch, with Shinso pulling 2 pipes down on Midoriya, only to be countered by Black Whip. Uraraka proceeds to drag the captured Monoma to their prison, and after dropping him off, she goes to help Ashido and Mineta, and leave Shinso to Midoriya. Together, Uraraka and the others defeat the remaining Class B team members, and Midoriya manages to pin Shinso down. Midnight announces the conclusion of the match with Class 1A winning 4, 0, restating the results for each of the matches, resulting in Class 1A being the overall winners, which they applaud themselves for. Eraserhead talks to Midoriya about what was going on with him, with the other students also being intrigued. Trying to find the best way to explain it, Midoriya tells them that he wasn't sure either. He was just overflowing with power and couldn't control it. Despite his defeat and being unable to show his growth to Midoriya, Shinso can't help but smile in amazement about Class A and B. Afterwards, he earns a passing grade for his transfer into the hero course. As Shinso accepts the transfer into the hero course for the next year, several students ask whether he'll be in Class A or B, but they say the time will come for that. Later at night, Midoriya and Bakugo spar in Gym Gamma in hope of getting Black Whip to manifest, which they are unable to, as Midoriya acknowledges that since he refused to use the quirk until he better mastered One for All, it won't manifest until then. The students of Class 1A and 1B proceed to hang out in Heights Alliance after their joint training session. The next day, Aizawa brings Monoma to the dorm in hope of him being able to help Eri train by copying her quirk. Monoma is unable to do so, as his quirk doesn't work well with those that require energy to activate, like what happened when he attempted to copy One for All. With encouraging words from Midoriya, Eri still intends to master her quirk, with the feeling mutual for Midoriya. Having finally earned their hero licenses, Bakugo and Todoroki take to the snowy streets and defeat a gang of thieves. Later, the duo arrive back at the dorm, only to be greeted with a surprise party by the rest of the class for passing the exam. While Japan deals with the aftermath of the destruction of Deka City 9 days earlier, Midoriya and the other students of Class 1A begin interview training. Visualizing unlocking One for All, Midoriya is able to properly manifest a little of Black Whip for just a second. Meanwhile, Principal Nezu visits All Might, who begins researching what he can on One for All's previous holders. He informs All Might that the Hero Public Safety Commission will be restarting the hero work studies soon. As winter vacation begins, Class 1A plus Eri celebrates their first Christmas together. Midoriya gets Uraraka's gift of sticky cut mochi, and she gets his gift of an All Might keychain. Eri gets Tokoyami's Buster Sword. The excitement causes Midoriya to think about how even though their future is uncertain, he hopes they can all have this much fun next Christmas. With the work studies program returning, Midoriya and Bakugo have nowhere to go to, with Night Eye Agency being too busy and Best Jeanist is missing. Todoroki makes an offer for them to join him at Endeavor's Hero Agency. A few weeks earlier, Hawks is given another chance by Dabi to join the League of Villains and visits Best Jeanist to check on his recovery, pulling a feather blade on the hero when his back is turned. After celebrating New Year's Eve with his mother, Midoriya heads off to begin his work studies. Meanwhile, Hawks appears at a mansion where he is approached by Slide and Go, who attempts to lecture Hawks for going off on his own, but a mysterious man with a laptop berates Slide and Go for trying to act superior. Thanks to Hawk's status and connections, he has far more useful information for them to use. Endeavor meets his new interns in the city and has to cut the talk short to stop an attempted attack by a doomsday theory-spouting villain. The three students follow him in an attempt to aid the #1 pro hero, but just as Midoriya and Bakugo were about to attack the thugs, Hawks suddenly arrives and disposes of them. After helping to defeat the villain and his minions, Hawks strangely hands a copy of Destro's Meta-Liberation War to Endeavor and recommends the book's highlighted passages. Noticing the way Hawks is acting, Endeavor immediately realizes something is wrong. While the interns are welcomed to Endeavor's agency by his sidekicks, the hero returns to his office and studies Destro's book. Endeavor connects specific letters in the highlighted sections together as a secret message from Hawks. In 4 months, the Meta-Liberation Army will attack Japan. With Hawk's message in hand, Endeavor now understands the true reason behind the Hero Public Safety Commission bringing back the work-study program, to ensure everyone is ready for the forthcoming attack of Shigaraki and his combined forces. Accepting Midoriya and Bakugo as his students, Endeavor first seeks to understand what each has to work on. Midoriya hopes to master all of his other quirks, and Bakugo desires to know what he is missing besides strength. Todoroki interjects, intending to learn everything he can from Endeavor to become someone like All Might. Endeavor sets a goal for his interns, to defeat a villain before he can by the work study's end. Endeavor talks about how everyone uses parallel processing subconsciously, using the example of a driver who through practice was able to do everything without thinking. He tells Midoriya that first he needs to learn how to do two things at once without thinking, and once he succeeds, to throw in another thing. He concludes telling them to take everything they learned in school and apply it to real experience. Midoriya thinks about how much he has grown and gained thanks to All Might, yet still has a lot to learn and that he will go beyond. The Oki Mariner crew is pursuing a ship carrying chemicals used to make an illegal quirk booster drug. Due to the difficult situation, Selkie requests a team up with the Ryukyu agency. Ryukyu, Uraraka, Asui, and Neijire arrive, and Selkie has the young heroes relax on the beach for the day to boost their morale. As the sun sets, the heroes take to the ocean while the smugglers attempt another escape. Selkie and Asui board the ship, but a cargo plane carrying the chemicals starts to take off. Sirius fires a harpoon carrying Uraraka, who utilizes the grappling hook in her new costume to latch onto the plane. Uraraka takes out the smuggler and with help from Ryukyu and Nejire, lands the plane safely. Afterwards, Selkie and Ryukyu discuss how the smuggler's client had used a fake name and that the chemicals were supposed to be brought to Otheon, Europe. Meanwhile, in a cathedral, a mysterious man hears about the news of the heroes disrupting the cargo delivery. However, he declares it to be fine as he already has the amount needed to prepare for the salvation of humanity. A week into the work studies, Endeavor gets a call from Fuyumi, who suggests bringing the trio home for dinner. The dinner soon gets uncomfortable as the conversation switches from being about Fuyumi's cooking to how Endeavor prevented Todoroki from eating Natsuo's cooking. A disgruntled Natsuo soon gets up and leaves. After dinner, Midoriya and Bakugo overhear Todoroki and Fuyumi talking about everything. Todoroki says he can't forgive Endeavor so easily for what he did to their mother and is unsure of how to feel. Bakugo barges his way in, yelling at them not to talk about sensitive subjects in front of guests, which led Midoriya to apologize and tell her they knew about everything already. Endeavor thinks about what he can do for his family after all this time, and wishes that Toya could have been there too. A few days earlier, a hooded man is released from prison and gleefully smiling when he comes across a television playing Endeavor's victory over the high end. Fuyumi explains to Midoriya and Bakugo that Natsuo was very close to their brother Toya, causing him to blame Endeavor for his death. Eventually, the time has come for Endeavor to bring the trio back to UA High, with Endeavor thanking Fuyumi for setting everything up, and her thanking Midoriya for being Shoto's friend. Shortly after, their car is soon attacked by street whitelines, controlled by a villain named Ending, with Natsuo held hostage. Ending emotionally explains that heroes can't kill, but since Endeavor had to kill the high-end Nomu, he can do it again. Ending launches nearby cars into the air, and hangs Natsuo in front of a moving train. Bakugo saves Natsuo, Midoriya uses Black Whip to grab the cars, and Todoroki captures Ending. After hugging Natsuo, Endeavor apologizes to him as he never intended on avoiding his kids, but still ran away from his responsibilities. The police arrive to take Ending away, while Natsuo thanks the three for saving him. Bakugo then reveals that he does have a hero name, but angrily refuses to tell his classmates until he tells someone else first. Endeavor decides the best thing he can do for his family is to ensure they live happily without him. While Class 1A celebrates the start of the third semester, Eraserhead and Present Mike are summoned to Tartarus Prison by Detective Tsukauchi and Gran Torino. Therefore, the two learn that Kurogiri is a Nomu created using the corpse of their school friend, Oboro Shirakumo. Since the Nomu retain some of their former personalities, Aizawa and Meek are asked to talk to Kurogiri in the hopes of getting information about the League of Villains. Once awake, Kurogiri grows concerned about Shigaraki's whereabouts, disturbing Aizawa since Shirakumo was always concerned for others. Aizawa and Meik bring up tales from their school days and have an emotional breakdown as they reveal just how much Shirakumo's friendship and death affected them. Kurogiri's programming fails, allowing Shirakumo's conscious to take over. Seeing his friends again, Shirakumo is only able to choke out Hospital before succumbing to Kurogiri again. This new clue is sent to Hawks, while he is at that moment teaching Twice the ideology of the Meta Liberation Army. Elsewhere, All for One's doctor laughs manically as Shigaraki's process of becoming his ultimate masterpiece is progressing better than expected. 2 months earlier, Gigantomachia appears before the League of Villains, declaring Shigaraki unworthy of being All for One's successor. During the attack, the League is teleported to the lab of All for One's assistant, Dr. Kyudai Garaki. The doctor intends to help Shigaraki in his goal of destroying everything that irritates him, but before Shigaraki can be granted power, he must defeat Gigantomachia to gain his loyalty. Meanwhile, Dr. Garaki asks Dabi to help him test out a high-end Nomu. A month and a half later, the League of Villains have made no progress in defeating Gigantomachia, but Shigaraki's strength and skill has been increasing. Intending to talk to Garan, Twice is alarmed to find out that the League's broker has been captured and tortured by Redestro, leader of the Meta Liberation Army. He declares the Liberation Army's objective to liberate meta powers and rebuild the world where people can freely use their abilities. Redestro invites the League of Villains to Deku City to face an ultimatum. Spinner questions on how to deal with their supposed 110,000 army, with Shigaraki revealing that he knows Gigantomachia isn't invincible, and since he will come after him no matter where he is, he'll lure the beast to the Liberation Army and let them fight each other, which will finally wear him out. Among the chaos after superpowers first appeared in the world, a popular ideology started to spread among the metahumans: the freedom to use their meta abilities rather than suppress them. A man named Destro brought many people who followed this ideology together and formed the Meta Liberation Army. After a couple of years, the group were defeated by the government, with most of the members being arrested and the army dissolved. While in prison, Destro wrote the Meta Liberation War Book before committing suicide. Back in the present, Deku City's welcoming party for the League quickly turns into an ambush, causing everyone to get separated. Toga is soon surrounded by Curious and her supporters. Intending to understand why Toga is the way she is, including why she attacked and drank the blood of a classmate in middle school, Curious overwhelms Toga with her explosive arsenal. Due to her near-death state, Toga's quirk evolves, unintentionally allowing her to use Uraraka's zero gravity, dropping Curious and her supporters from the sky. Elsewhere, Shigaraki demonstrates his evolved quirk as well, killing those beyond who he has touched. While Dabi begins his battle with the ice user Getten, Twice finds an unconscious Toga, only to be surrounded by Skeptic's puppets. Captured, Twice can do nothing as Skeptic's puppets attempt to snap Toga's neck. In the tower, Garan is surprised to learn that Twice is there, as Redestro and Skeptic explain that they are taking advantage of his psychological trauma in order to break him. Jin thinks back to his past, recalling a moment when he was 16 where he accidentally ran over a man with his motorcycle, resulting in them getting a broken arm. He was alone due to his parents dying when he was in middle school, and never being close to any of his relatives. The only ones he could talk to were his doubles, while he just wanted to be with someone he could trust and who trusted him. He decided to indulge, creating more doubles of himself, having fun committing all sorts of crimes, until it reached his biggest mistake, when his doubles turned on him, leaving him alone once again, unable to trust himself. Afterwards, Twice finally realizes that he is not a double and unleashes thousands of doubles of himself. Determined to not let his friends die, the Twice doubles swarm Deku City. To ensure Shigaraki's survival, Dr. Garaki calls upon Gigantomachia, urging him to protect All for One's successor. Twice as double reaches Redestro's tower to rescue Giran, but is no match for Redestro's speed and strength, even with doubles of the League on his side. Shigaraki decays the base of the tower, bringing it all crumbling down. Then Shigaraki comes face to face with Redestro. Redestro overwhelms Shigaraki, destroying his left hand and the hands he wears all over his body, causing him to experience flashes of his deceased family. As a child, Tenko Shimura lives under the one harsh rule of his father, Kotaro. Never talk about heroes, as they do nothing but hurt their own families to help strangers. Now notes how his allergies have gotten worse, while Kotaro mentions how he hasn't manifested a quirk yet, so he's doing this to prevent Tenko from more suffering. Despite this, Tenko's sister Hana sneaks into Kotaro's room and show him a picture of their grandmother, Nana Shimura. However, Tenko's excitement is slapped away by his father's rage, while his family only watches it. Thinking back to when Nana abandoned him to the foster system to keep him safe, Kotaro realizes he made a mistake. Tenko's quirk manifests, killing his entire family one by one. He attempts to beg his father for help, but Kotaro panics and attacks him, scarring Tenko's face. Enraged, Tenko jumps on his father and purposely kills him with his decay. Ignored by bystanders, Tenko wandered the city streets alone, hoping for a helping hand, which he got in All for One. Dr. Garaki asks All for One about Tenko's lost memories, with the latter saying they still remain within him, and that he's become unstable with them locked away, even decay being held back from its true power. All for One states that he will become the next symbol of fear that has taken its first big step forward. In the aftermath of killing the two hoodlums in 2 tries, Tenko thinks about how he feels both sick and at peace. Thus, Tenko was slowly groomed into a villain name that he is currently, Tomura Shigaraki, taken from a Japanese word meaning to mourn, and All for One's last name. Back in the present, Shigaraki unleashes the full power of his quirk, turning Deku City into nothing but a crater. Believing that Shigaraki is the embodiment of Destro's ideology, Redestro declares that he and the Meta Liberation Army will follow him. At the same time, Gigantomachia acknowledges Shigaraki as All for One's successor. Over the next week, the Liberation Army's influence makes quick work to cover up the truth of what happened at Deku City. In their newly constructed mansion headquarters, the League of Villains and the Meta Liberation Army merge forces into the Paranormal Liberation Front as its lieutenants are announced before all the assembled members, including an undercover Hawks. Hawks, undercover within the Paranormal Liberation Front, has put all the pieces together, except for one: Shigaraki's sponsor Dr. Garaki. Meanwhile, Shigaraki meets Garaki, who talks about how his quirk had evolved in the fight, allowing him to decay not just what he touches, but what's connected to it. Garaki proceeds to perform the experiments necessary to give Shigaraki power that will let him surpass All for One and obtain One for All. Back in the present, Class 1A shows off the new abilities and skills that they learned in their work studies. After the showcase, Midoriya goes to see Uraraka and tell her that he was able to control the Black Whip successfully, thanking her again for what she did when it first emerged. In the teachers' dorms, Eraserhead and Present Mike recover after the Oboro Shirakumo revelation, and are then approached by Mirio and Tamaki, informing that Aries Horn has started to act up again, using his quirk to calm her down. Later, All Might meets Midoriya and Bakugo in the conference room, handing them a booklet containing all the information on the previous One for All users. He reveals that the quirks aren't powerful, as their users were simply entrusted by each other to pass the quirk along, and also reveals the next quirk that Midoriya will receive is his master's, Float. That night, Class 1A throws a party celebrating the beginning of the 3rd term, and Midoriya thinks back to how much his life has changed. 3 months later, all Hero Corps students are summoned for a joint operation with the pro heroes. Unbeknownst to them all, The war with the Paranormal Liberation Front is about to begin, and hero society will never be the same.